Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today we're actually starting our meeting off with a public comment portion for the Kaleidoscope Kids tax abatement. So if there's anyone here who'd like to speak on behalf of the Kaleidoscope Kids tax abatement, this is your opportunity. And for the record, all council members are present. All right, hearing none on the Kaleidoscope Kids tax abatement, I'll go ahead and close this portion of the meeting. And I'm opening it back up for the, May 28th Delaware County Council meeting. We could go ahead and call this meeting to order, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Emily, kick us off, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Webb. Present. Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Here.
Mr. Hughes.
Here.
Mr. Whitehead. Present. Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Here.
Mr. Freeman.
Here.
All right, so questions from the public may be directed to County Council dist@co.delaware.in.us. Again, that's County Council dist@co.delaware.in.us. Was the agenda posted? All right, and before we approve the agenda, I do have a couple of amendments I'd like to put on there. Under ordinances and resolutions, under Kaleidoscope Properties, we have two different resolutions. So the one resolution is already on there, which is 008, and we need to add resolution 2024-009. And then I'd like to move Sheriff Skinner down from new business up to the ordinance and resolution portion for his drop resolution, which is 2024-010. Those are the only amendments I have.
Do you need a motion to approve as amended?
Yes, please. Is that your motion?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
All right, motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, moving on to the approval of the April 23rd council meeting minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to table those minutes, if I could, please. There was some, I was reading through the minutes and there was a little bit of a lack of detail in some of the minutes. And I think it would be important to get a little bit more information into those minutes and give the auditor's office a little bit more time to add the necessary information. I know that the minutes are on YouTube. And a lot of times there's a link provided for the public to find those minutes on YouTube. But I believe it should be really on us and the onus on us as a government to maintain our minutes, and that is the official record. And I believe it's important that we be as detailed as possible when we do our minutes. So for that reason, I'd like to make a motion to table the minutes until next month.
Second motion.
Okay.
So we can have a discussion. I have a difference, I think, of philosophy. In my prior career, I wrote a lot of minutes. And I guess I would characterize my philosophy as being minimalist. I think the purpose of minutes, from my perspective, was to have a permanent record of official action taken by the body. Now, I have certainly seen minutes that are everywhere from what I would characterize as my philosophy up to almost a transcript of a meeting. I worry that if we get into a lot of detail about discussions and who said what, we're putting a big burden on the auditor staff, because they either have to, in essence, prepare a transcript, or they have to interpret what people said and condense it and edit it, and that's makes it more difficult for them. So I think we ought to have the discussion about exactly what we want to see in the minutes. I'm going to want to lean toward you know, our minutes this month were 15 pages long. I don't think we need 15 pages of minutes, right? But let's have that discussion and see if we can't come to a consensus of what we want the auditor staff to do for us.
So, I appreciate the comments and thank you for the second. For the purpose of discussion, because it does need to be discussed, and with respect to what Councilmember Hughes said, believe me, he's definitely very experienced and he knows what he's talking about.
I have
think
one
that-
opinion, that's all.
So I think, with respect to what he said, obviously, yes, we want to be cognizant of the weight we put on the shoulders of the auditor's office. And I don't think a detailed verbatim description is necessary. Usually, I think what we've done in the past several years, at least since I've been a part of the council, is it's about a paragraph describing whatever the conversation is, and that pretty much gives the gist of what's taking place. And I think the city of Muncie, they do them like verbatim. I mean, every little word they're in there. I don't think we necessarily need to do that, but at the same time, I want to caution the council of, it seems to be a little bit of a trend. I've seen it in the Muncie Redevelopment Commission meetings. I've seen it in the Delaware County Commissioners meetings, and now we're talking about it in these meetings. People are wanting to go away from the detail in the minutes, and it's usually the same conversation. We don't want to put the burden on the auditor's office, but what we have to remind ourselves is we can't put the burden on the people. The burden on the people to go dig stuff that they should have access to. And we should always put that first and foremost at the people. We should make it easier for them at every turn to get involved with their government, to know what's going on with their government, and not put burdens in place. It's great that we have the YouTube link, but we don't know what's going to happen on YouTube. Government could break them up tomorrow and say that they're a monopoly and it'll be broken up. So I think that in 5 years from now, someone wants to go back to our minutes. I don't think a paragraph about what the discussion is unreasonable or should cause an unreasonable burden. They've been doing it for years and operating quite well.
Based on, I wasn't here last month, so I'm reading the minutes fresh. The transfers are the only things that really don't have too much detail, but when necessary, it looks like you attach some detail. The ordinance and resolutions have detail associated with them. I mean, outside of giving Marissa or whoever some guidance on specifically what needs to include, because even the one you arguing for, it did state that you had a discussion about whether or not that transfer was necessary or not. So, I mean, we have to either provide some specific guidance, I think, or, you know, let Marissa, or somebody can explain to us what the guidance is, or Ed, maybe you guys can just talk through what your thoughts are, and then we can say that's great or no, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. Because it does appear that in the detail for things like ordinances, resolutions, there is work being done to include that. Transfers, for the most part, employee transfers particularly, are going to go away. So those aren't really going to be on here. So maybe that means that we can put a little more detail. I don't know.
I just wanted to state from the Office of the Public Access Counselors what the minimum standard is. Again, anything above and beyond that is up to the council, but the memoranda of the meetings must contain the date, time, and place of the meeting, the members of the governing body being recorded as either present or absent, general substance of all matters proposed, discussed, or decided, and a record of all votes taken by individual members if there is a roll call. That's the standard. I just wanted to set that out there, and then you can go from there however you like.
So in your opinion, did we meet that standard?
I think generally speaking, yes. The standard, I don't think this body has ever had an issue with the date and time of the meeting, who was there, what was voted on, and what the roll call, because I think just about every decision is made by roll call vote, so there's always a tally of who said yes, who said no. So really, it's I think what you're actually discussing is the quote, general substance of all matters proposed, discussed, or decided, and I think that's up to the body to determine how much detail you think is necessary in your own minutes or memoranda. But yes, I think you do very clearly meet the legal requirements.
Well, not only do we have the YouTube, we also have an audio recording, and those have been going on for years. So we actually save that data here, so it's not preserved and stored by a third party. So it is public record, can be accessed by the public at any point in time upon request. So it's really up to the council. I mean, within reason, we'll do whatever the council would like for us to do. So if you want full details, we can provide that. If not, you give us guidance on what you're expecting.
Yeah, I've been pleased with what we've been provided, both the recording and the YouTube. I mean, I understand, Ryan, where you're coming from with YouTube possibly going away at some point, but there are other data sources that are saved and stored, so you can get every single word if you need to.
Right.
I think I lean more with Bill on this one.
I think it's important to notice there's a difference, so I understand exactly what you're saying. What I'm referencing is a point, in the last several months, we've shied away from a reasonable level of detail to the bare minimum. And to what Mr. Freeman said, we have to decide, do we want to be a council where we meet the bare minimum, the legally mandated floor, or are we going to be representatives who strive to go above and beyond the minimum and make it easier for the people, right? It's easy for us to just meet the minimum. Anybody can meet the minimum. Governments all over the state do that. But
So do you have specifics that you want changed in these minutes?
yes, I do. I said it when I first spoke. I think about a paragraph description of what the conversation is should be necessary. My entire 3.5 years on the council, that's what we've had. And just until the
Under
last
each transfer.
couple months, we've not had that.
Under each transfer?
For each transcript. Well, if there's a discussion, if it's a routine, mundane, somebody gets up to the podium and we vote and that's it, that's one thing. But if there's a 10-15 minute back and forth dialogue, some of that should be included in there. I mean, you're not going to get that in
Is it fair that,
reading somebody disagreed with the transfer.
is it fair that the only spot that's not happening is under transfers?
Well, for example, let me just give you a couple examples. So, for last month's meeting, we had a significant back and forth about a transfer of, I think it was give or take $20,000, about moving some TVs a little bit closer, or not moving them closer, or moving some switches. And there was a pretty decent conversation about it. It was going to the courts. Yes, Matt, he wasn't here for that, but it's a decent conversation. It took about 10-15 minutes. You would think that would somewhere be noted in here, other than just
It says Miss Emily Anderson Courts and Councilman Webb had discussion on if the transfer is needed. That's what the line in the minute
right.
says.
So you weren't here, so do you understand what happened with that? From reading that?
No.
There you go. That's my point. So the other part of it would be
But do we expect that Marissa's gonna be able to capture that 15-minute conversation in a paragraph that's going to?
Denise captured it every month.
Okay.
I don't think we should go backwards from what we've been doing for the last several years. Is what I'm getting at. I'm not asking for more. I just think we should maintain what we've been doing.
So there's a motion to table the minutes. And I think relative to a discussion on what needs to be included in the minute, that's probably a separate. Well, I think the minutes will be amended next month. Is that correct, Ben? If we decide we want to add more to it,
The amendment, or the minutes can be amended at your pleasure. They're your minutes.
that's what I thought. So I think we need to have a discussion about how much detail you want to bring it back to the discussion of the auditor's office. I think we can approve these minutes and amend them next. And have whatever you want. It has,
What would be the difference of approving them and then amending them versus tabling them?
Just go on the official record now.
it's just an official record, that's all.
Otherwise, they're not going to be, they don't get posted until we approve them.
Well, I mean, council members can vote however they choose to vote, but just to be clear, what I'm asking for, what I'm saying that I think is necessary, is just a paragraph description. I think most people could get the gist of what's taken in a paragraph, 14 tops. I mean, if we wanna know how to do that, all we'd have to do is look back to the minutes 6 months ago and see how they were done. But that's what when I think of this and envision what an average person would want. Not that the average person is going and digging up minutes, but we need to have them available for them if they want to. No, I never done that minutes before, but some people do.
So your position is would just like to have that paragraph amended, is that?
Yeah, I think what my position is we should amend the minutes. And the reason why I said table them is to give the auditor's office time to amend them, because I didn't know if we could amend them here in the meeting. And the other part is just moving forward. I think we should have, when there's a relevant discussion, a paragraph or two description of the discussion. Which is what we've had in the past, up to this point. I'm just arguing us not go backwards.
I have a question on the motion to table.
What did he say?
Question?
All right, roll call.
Ms. Flanagan.
No.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes?
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Wyatt.
No.
Cantz.
Abstain.
Piper.
No.
A 3-3
Motion fails.
fails for lack of a majority.
All right, so motion to approve the 2023 April County Council meeting minutes, please. Roll call.
We've got to meet, I moved the motion to approve those.
Thank you.
Second.
I got ahead of myself. Thank you. Motion by Dan, second by Eugene. Now a roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
No.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
No.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Cantz.
Abstain.
Piper.
Yes. All right. Yeah.
All right, let's hear.
What was the count?
4-3.
It can't be 4-3, we had an abstention. 4-2, okay.
All right, on to the transfer and appropriation agenda.
Starting off in County General, Communications, 124. C, 136, Communication Tech, negative 24,326 and 84 cents. D, 136, Communication Tech, positive 24,326 and 84 cents. Total transfer 0.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. I do want to say that everything was favorable in Finance Committee, and we had like a record-setting Finance Committee. It was like 16 minutes. So most of these are all just simple backfilling, which is what we have here with 911. Do we have any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Cantz.
Yes.
Mokel.
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. Thank you.
Sheriff, 129. D, 122, Corporal, negative 32,755 and 97 cents. E, 122, Corporal, positive 32,755 and 97 cents. E, 110, Sergeant, negative 37,357 and 93 cents. F, 110, Sergeant, positive 37,357 and 93 cents. Total transfer 0.
Make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. We've got more backfilling. Any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Jail, 145. E, 141, Correctional Officer, negative 24,448 and 30 cents. F, 141, Correctional Officer, positive 24,448 and 30 cents. Total transfer 0.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. More backfilling. Any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. Thank you.
Auditor, 126. 117, tax sale plat room deputy, negative 23,191.56 cents. A, 117, tax sale plat room deputy, positive 23,191.56 cents. Total transfer 0.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Again, more backfilling. Any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
EMS, 155. G, 109, advanced EMT, negative 27,239.22 cents. H, 109, advanced EMT, positive 27,239.22 cents. Total transfer 0.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Again, backfilling. Any additional oh, you've got a comment?
Yes,
Okay.
before, so when I turned this in, it was before his final payout, and I thought I had figured that and included that in there, so the total changes. The total transfer now is gonna be 24,964.47.
24,964.27, 47.
47.
Do we need to amend the motion?
Did it change the,
Still 0.
It's still 0.
Still 0. The amount coming out of his account changed because he had a final payout that I thought I had already put in when I figured this, and then when I did my weekly balances, I realized that that total I gave was not including his final payout.
since the amounts moving from one item to the other are different, I would move to amend the motion.
So moved?
All right, motion to amend by Dan, second by Ryan. And we vote on that, right? All right, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Motion to approve of amended amount of transfer?
I got Dan as a motion. Anyone second? Okay, motion by Dan, second by Ryan. As amended. Roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Prosecutor, 137. B, 115, deputy prosecutor, negative 54,923.08 cents. C, 115, deputy prosecutor, positive 54,923.08 cents. Total transfer 0.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. More backfilling. Any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Ms. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Moving on to other. Lit Public Safety Jail, 1170, 145. D, 103, Correctional Officer, negative 23,903.74 cents.
Excuse me. I got 21,000.
What I got.
21,000, sorry. 21,903.74 cents. E, 103, Correctional Officer, positive 21,903.74 cents. Total transfer 0.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Again, more backfilling. Any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Fair and Expo, 4911. 391, Eclipse, 2024, negative 3,000. 442, Equipment, positive 3,000, total transfer 0.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Carrie, you wanna explain this one quickly?
Yes, Carrie Dye, the Fair Board. We currently have a golf cart that it's old and it cannot be repaired anymore. The maintenance guy uses it to put his equipment in it to go around, weed eat, stuff like that. So we are purchasing a used one for the $3,000 to replace the one that we have, since it cannot be repaired.
Any questions?
I have a couple.
What was it?
Go ahead, Mr. Cannon.
No, go ahead, you go ahead.
Two questions, a two-part. First is about the Eclipse money. We just transferred that money in, a month or two ago for the Eclipse. I don't
Yes.
remember the dollar amount. Do you remember how much it was? and why we
Honestly, I
didn't use it?
don't, because I know Donna came to council for that. But I know that we didn't use the money that we transferred in, because we didn't need it for the Eclipse.
When was it?
Just like a couple months ago, it was right before the Eclipse, they
The
transferred.
eclipse, like 3 months ago.
I guess I'm trying to figure out how you did use it.
Because I don't think there was enough activity at the fair.
Alright,
$6,000.
okay, so he's part of it then. Thank you, Matt. Second part is, so, why use a golf cart for that? Why wouldn't they get like, I don't know what those things cost. Do you even know more about it? He's a farm guy, one of those gators or whatever. I'm sure there are a lot more in a golf
I
cart.
would
but-
say because of the cost of $3,000, it has a dump bed on the back.
Oh, it does?
And so that he can put his equipment in the back and go around instead of, a gator or something like that. You're probably talking
$27,000.
$10,000 plus.
But it does have a dump bed?
Yes, this
Okay.
golf cart does have a dump bed.
Okay, good deal. I was envisioning a golf cart running around with weed eaters hanging off the side,
No,
so.
it has a dump
That
bed.
makes more sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Thank you.
You get to stay up there.
I do. Bridge 1135, A 115, equipment operator, negative 26,081 and 20 cents. B 115, equipment operator, positive 26,081 and 20 cents. 117, truck driver, negative 24,307.84 cents. A 117, truck driver, positive 24,307.84 cents. Total transfer 0.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. This is kind of backfilling, it's just people switching positions.
Right.
So,
Yes.
does anyone have additional questions?
I do have a quick question on that. So, these are two employees switching positions, but the dollar amounts are a couple thousand apart. How's that gonna work?
So the current equipment operator is stepping down to a truck driver position, so his rate's gonna change.
Is it okay with the pay cut?
Yeah, he's got 30 years in, he's ready to step down, just be a truck driver, which in our favor is gonna help out because that gives the truck driver the experience to become the equipment operator and to move on. And then the truck driver's going to the operator's spot.
Good deal. I just make sure they're cool with the,
Yeah, we had
Okay,
one
so-
last year that had several years in as an operator, and he's ready to step down and not run equipment anymore. So it was their decision to do that.
thank you.
Roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lit Public Safety Prosecutor, 1170, 137. E 102, Deputy Prosecutor, negative 45,769 and 24 cents. F 102, Deputy Prosecutor, positive 45,769 and 24 cents. Total transfer 0.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. More backfilling. Any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, on to our appropriations. Oh, wait, do we have an addendum?
Yeah.
We do.
In County General, Auditor 126, F 104 payroll deputy, negative 19,186.15. G 104 payroll deputy, positive 19,106.15. 186.15. C 119 tax sale deputy, negative 26,171.06. D 119 tax sale deputy, positive 26,171.06. 120 tax sale plat room exemption deputy, negative 26,284.26. A 120 tax sale plat room exemption deputy, positive 26,284.26. Total transfer 0.
I make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. We've got more backfilling. Any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. Cool. All right, now over to appropriations.
County General, EMA 152, 324 pagers and cell phone, $241 for a total of $241.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Heidi, you want to give us a quick explanation on this one?
Yeah, I came over, Heidi Knuckles, Office Manager EMA. I got the bill over in time, the claim over in time, and I wrote at the top to pay in 2023, encumber if not, and it never got encumbered.
All right, any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. Thank you.
Commissioners 153, 386 institutional care, 424,000 for a total of 424,000.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan, and just a reminder, we are out of County General now. You might want to give us a little explanation on this one, just as a refresher on why this keeps coming.
This is county
That was
general.
county
This is
general.
county
Oh,
general.
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I had it under other. I'm sorry, my apologies. You'd like to give us an explanation on this one?
Yeah, just in previous years, they had always just budgeted 300,000, and it's just not enough to get through the year. So I'll budget for that this year.
That was the discussion during finance was making sure that we accounted for this, as it's a continuing issue. However, doing this actually saves us more money other places, significant amounts, really.
Right.
So we'll want to be prepared for this in budget hearings.
We got the email that the average has been 53,000 a month,
Yeah.
Yes.
so the 300,000 will not quite get, the initial 300,000 that was in the budget won't get quite through the first 6 months.
Right.
But to my point that I made at finance, I don't see that we need 424 to get us through the rest of the year. Doing my math, it's more like 375.
Okay. I was gonna say there was ones that were like March was like almost, it was 58,000. So it's just 58.
58. I'd move to amend the request to 375,000.
Are we still under discussion?
Yeah.
Yes.
If we approve the 424, and there's a balance due, in other words, we've over appropriated for this, we get it back, correct?
Yeah. There are a few other things that come out of that line as well. I currently have about I think there's 20,000 in it, but there's invoices from the state hospitals and stuff that comes out of that line as well. So
It comes back, but it comes back to the end of the year. In the meantime, we can't appropriate that money for anything else during the year.
She would just have to come back.
She might
I
have
might
to
point out, there's a motion on the table, so there either needs to be a second. Now discussion is
Okay, so
appropriate.
Bill moved, Matt, you second. All right, so additional discussion.
Can we state for the record what we're talking about, so everybody in the room knows what we're talking about?
it's the jail release program.
Which is what?
Jane Miranda, Community Corrections. This is the home detention program that the courts and the jail uses to try to eliminate some of that population. So the numbers at the end of April, for example, we had 141 inmates that were on this program that come out to their homes, and approximately half of those are in treatment facilities and halfway houses throughout the state. So we monitor those individuals as well.
So is this forced treatment or voluntary treatment?
Voluntary treatment.
Okay, and we pay for that?
The treatment itself is free. The monitoring of the GPS is what the commissioners pay for.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that.
You're welcome.
So this ebbs and flows based on the number of
Yes.
jail inmates
It-
/ who's
who's arrested.
eligible.
Who's eligible?
And they did come before us last year to ask for additional funding.
I agree with what Mr. Councilmember Hughes said. If it's 50,000 a month, we got 7 months left, that's 350,000.
So, I'm sorry,
And he said, what, 375?
375 I think last year, the initial budget appropriation was 300 and they came back and asked for 250. Does that
but
sound
the
right?
total in 2020,
I was gonna say, but
sorry,
I
go ahead.
took the average over the last 9 months, and the average is almost 53,000. That went back to August. We really saw an increase in August, and we've almost doubled the amount of inmates since January of last year.
According to this, 2022 was 379,000 total.
I did not bring 2022. I have 2023 with me, and that was almost 546,000
Yeah,
in 2023.
right. Okay.
Being the fact that it is in the county general, so that's gonna be $50,000 less that we can appropriate to anything else if we have anything moving forward.
Well, I guess I'm not sure how we missed the budget. If we knew we were, well, last year was, let me see when we were in June.
We had some changeover when the budget was
We were
due
about
back in June.
239 in June. So, I mean, we knew we were gonna be way over. Okay.
One of the things that I stated in finance was I think we got used to the numbers during 2020, 2021, when we had court shut down and a national pandemic, and we just didn't have, we maybe had 30 people on. Now that court hearings are going through, there's arrests, there's warrants that were issued years ago that are now starting to come through, so it's just been an increase in the amount of individuals.
Do you provide the budget number to Sarah, or?
No. When I looked back at the budget, it had always just been 300,000, and last year was my first budget, so that's just what I went with.
I think what Ms. Jane just said is a likely explanation of kind of how we got off track there. Because when you do a budget, you take the last 3 or 4 years, you do the average, and then those are the years you just spoke of. So,
This year, I hope we base it on actuals.
yeah, you can't do the average this year.
And we start at 0.
Well, he's got the motion, I got the second. Can I call for the question?
Yeah, roll call.
On that? As amended?
This is for the amendment.
So the amendment is 375?
Yeah.
The motion is to change the amount from 424 to 375, so that you're voting on whether or not to change the amount, and then you would vote on the actual approval after that.
And for the record, if you run short and we approve the amended amount, come back and see what we got.
All right, roll call on the amendment to $375,000.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Ms. Bogle.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes. All right, now I need a motion and second for the 375.
So moved.
Second?
A motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Ms. Bogle.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
I want to state one thing for the record, because somebody commented. $545,000 was spent last year. That saved us $779,000.25 from jail costs. So for the public, this is a cost savings program, not a expenditure. Good point.
All right, thank you. All right, now we're in other.
Yes, moving on to other. FRC Problem Solving Grant, 8193. 173 health insurance, 9,826 for a total of 9,826.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Emily, you might want to explain this one for us.
Emily Anderson, Court Administrator. This is our grant for our problem-solving court at juvenile. We did not put health insurance in that grant anymore because we didn't have it covered in the grant. However, we had enough money to put the health insurance this year, and the grantor is looking at increasing benefits moving forward because a lot of the counties could not cover benefits because the health insurance is so costly. I need to give her health insurance because she lost the health insurance, so we need to put that in this year. And we had it in the extra funding, so grantor gave us permission to go ahead and give that to her.
She lost health insurance how?
She was on her husband's health insurance.
Go ahead.
I think you said if this is not used, it reverts.
Goes back.
Goes back.
So whatever we don't use goes back to the grantor anyway.
Okay, any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Statewide 911, 1222. 443, PSAP equipment, 64,000 for a total of 64,000.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. This is essentially what we discussed at the end of our meeting last month. Wasn't able to get it onto our, agenda. Do you have any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes. All right.
Ball Brothers Grant, High Tech Crimes, 9214. 443, repair and maintenance of software, 35,000. 393, education and schooling, 15,000. 394, construction, 50,000, for a total of 100,000.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. This is essentially just appropriating new grant monies. Do you have any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes.
High Tech Crime Unit, 1195. 211 office supplies, 1,000. 220 operating supplies, 2,000. 441 equipment, 35,681 and 27, for a total of 38,681 and 27 cents.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. This was just the second payout from the state, and it's appropriating those monies for him to use. Do you have any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cal Casa, 1212. 441 machinery and equipment, 6,700, for a total of 6,700.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. You've got some computers and software to purchase.
Yes.
Do you have any additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes. Thank you. All right. Someone like to read the motion?
Motion to approve financial transfers and to amend salary ordinance with like reductions. Second?
Motion by Eugene, second by Dan. Roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes. All right, on to ordinances and resolutions. We have two for Kaleidoscope Properties LLC, which are in your packet. They are we'll start with resolution 2024-008.
Just for clarification, I went, looked back at the resolution that was originally passed that you're now confirming, and it was titled 008. And since this is a subsequent resolution, I think this one should be 009, which is confirming 008. It's just, the numbers were matched up, but they're actually two separate resolutions. So I think this now is 9, and then the next one would be 10 instead of 9.
All right, so change 8 to 9, 9 to 10.
Yes, because 9 is actually confirming 8. They're not one and the same. They each have different, they're different resolutions. I think was the confusion.
Yeah, when we get there, that one will have to change too.
Yeah, any resolutions that you're passing today are just gonna be a number subsequent to what they're currently labeled, is my point. It doesn't change the substance of the resolutions, it's just the numbering.
All right, so now we're looking at resolution 2024-009. Entertain a motion to approve.
A motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Do we have any discussion?
I'm a little confused. You said it was the same, but did you say it was the same or different?
So I think the confusion is that what is now labeled 009 is confirming 008. But it was labeled 008 like it was the same resolution. It's actually a subsequent resolution approving the prior determination of an ERA. The statute calls for the body to declare a piece of property as an economic revitalization area, publish notice, and then come back and confirm that prior finding. So I don't think they shouldn't be the same numbered resolution because they're actually two separate resolutions, even though they're dealing with the same topic. So I think that's the confusion.
The first one is just declaring that area, ERA, correct?
That was the one passed back in March, yes.
Okay, which is 08.
Yes.
Okay.
And then 09 is now confirming your decision, which is what you're required to do.
Wait just a second. My 08 is the ordinance on the, hiring.
Yeah, it's just coincidental. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked at that too.
The resolution, not the ordinance, 08.
Yep, I was like, oh.
Sorry about that.
Oh, there it is.
Threw me off too.
All right, any discussion on this?
I'd just like to clarify what Mr. Freeman just said. We're confirming what we already did last month. Is that what you're saying?
2 months ago.
In March, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Which is what you're required to do under statute.
This was, somewhat confusing. We were late in getting the tax abatement committee, if you recall. This application was actually filed last fall. We didn't hear at a tax abatement committee till February. We had the March meeting declaring the, economic development area, revitalization area. Then we didn't get the notice published for the public hearing, so we lost another month. So through no fault of the applicant here, we're several months behind where we should be, and I will endeavor to not let that happen again.
This is kind of like the second reading of what we did in March.
You could look at it that way, yes. It's essentially a framework set up by the legislature to make sure that you don't do this in 1 month. You have to do it in subsequent hearings.
I got you. It's a two-part deal. Yes, it's phase 2.
All right, any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Sticking with my March vote, I will vote no.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Cantz.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes.
Just a point of order. We did enter that as 11-9.
Correct.
Amended, whatever.
All right, Now we move over to resolution number 2024-010. This is a resolution approving deduction of assessed value for real estate in the already declared economic development area. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan. Do we have any discussion?
This is for, I'm sorry, I was writing that down.
Okay.
Which one are we on here?
10. What was 9, which is now 10. This is the,
Tax abatement.
Is this the tax abatement?
yes,
Okay. Oh, we're on the discussion phase.
yes.
Good deal.
We have a lot of papers to go through today.
Oh, well. I'm well aware of what it is. Okay, well, yeah. Just to start off the discussion, I brought this up in, I think, what Councilmember Hughes said was our March meeting, and obviously there's been a couple missteps here, and through no fault of the, applicant, thank you, Mr. Mokel, no fault of the applicant, as far as the ERA and those kinds of things. I do, think it's important to note, though, that through their own admission of the applicant is the application was submitted for the tax abatement after the fact, once it was known that that was a tool available. And I just, for the record, want to state my interpretation of a tax abatement process is to entice or to lure a company to locate or relocate to build in Delaware County. It is not to, give someone an added discount, if you will, or a bonus, or form a lifeline. I don't think they need a lifeline, that's not the right words, but basically, an addition to their bottom line is kind of what this appears to be. So, just for the record, I wanted to put that out there, that I believe our tax abatement process should be saved for companies that we are luring to Delaware County and enticing them to build, not ones who have already chosen to build and have already built. So that's all I have to say on it.
One of those things
And
too.
And I will, counter that with, we give tax abatements to companies that improve all the time.
Correct. And that's what I was getting ready to say, is we've had in the past, and Ryan, I can't remember if it was when you've been on council or not, but we've had manufacturing companies come in and they're wanting to purchase new equipment. Like I know we had Indiana Ticket, and we had Magna come in and they were buying, all kinds of new machinery to do things, and we did accept their tax abatement request for the machinery, so they were already here, in Delaware County. Now, I mean, to your point too, it's not this property owner's fault, I mean, that
Well,
it
it
came in.
kind of is.
Well, yeah, but like, she stated she wasn't aware it was an option.
That's true, and that's what I was gonna say about that, is that Ryan, in this instance, is correct, that it was after the fact, and our economic development group, or whomever, when working with this group, probably should have brought that up at that time. So it is an after the fact move, and I probably would vote no had it not be specific to this very vital, very necessary, childcare, facility being put in. So I would agree with him that, but, in essence, it was after the fact.
It's still the intention of the tax abatement committee to establish some guidelines, because we have no written guidelines about our tax abatement program. We need to have that in place so that applicants know what the rules are. And one of the rules may be that the application needs to be filed before contracts are signed or purchase orders for equipment or whatever. That's very common in other jurisdictions. We just have never had a rule, so we need to establish that. So, and I'm going to endeavor to try to get that done in the next 30 days, because I know of at least one organization that's intending to apply for tax abatement, and we need to be able to tell them what the rules are. So we'll try to get that done for the June meeting.
Any additional discussion?
Thanks, Bill. I'd like to go back to Bill's comment. The people that you're currently visiting with, or that you know of, if we would adopt a resolution next month, is this something that they would qualify for under the new guidelines, or not qualify for?
Well, the guidelines haven't been written yet, but I have advised them what we intend to do as far as establishing guidelines. If those guidelines are adopted by this council prior to them filing the application, they will be expected to comply. I don't know what their timetable is, and honestly, I don't have enough detail to be able to tell you where they fall in the range of what their project is.
Right. Good? Roll call, please.
Mr. Blanken?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Mokel?
Yes.
Mr. Webb?
No.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Mr. Cantz?
Yes.
Ms. Piper?
Yes. All right, thank you. Now let's move over to, the last resolution, which is the drop program. Resolution 2024-011. Sheriff, if you'd like to come up and chat with us about the drop program. I know you gave us a little bit of you kind of reminded us that we had a sunset clause in place last month. Wanted to talk more to the council members who aren't familiar with the program and what it's provided.
Sure, thank you. Tony Skinner, Delaware County Sheriff. Before I talk about the drop program, just real quickly, I want to make sure that everybody understands our pension plan, and when somebody retires, how those benefits are calculated. Because most of you, probably all of you, just don't have a firm grasp on that. So, in order for one of our deputies to qualify for the pension, to be considered fully eligible, you have to have 20 years of service as a merit deputy. This isn't for corrections officers, it's not for civilian employees, it's merit deputy sheriffs only. So once you hit 20 years, you're considered, eligible for full retirement. We actually have 2 retirement plans, and I'm just looking over I think this is the copy, Mr. Freeman, and I think we need to make a change on that, but I'll get to that in a moment. We actually have 2 plans because the plan was changed in October of 2010, okay? So if you were hired before October of 2010, you max out at a maximum number of years of 32 years with the department. So you reach a retirement age of 20 years with the department, and then from 20 years to 32 years, for every year of service, you add 2% of your to the number. So let me get to the number. I'm really confusing myself. So at 20 years, okay, so we'll start at 20 years. Once you reach 20 years, what they do is they take your 3 highest years of salary in any of those 20 years. Typically, they're your last 3 years, but they take your highest 3 years of salary and they average those, and that's your number. Okay, so that's the number that your pension is based on. So once you hit 20 years, and they've established your number, then say you work 5 more years, you get 2% a year.
On top of that?
Hang on, let me step back. So once we've established your number, okay, your 3 highest average, the average of your 3 highest paid years, at 20 years, if you were to retire at 20 years, you get 50% of that. That's your pension. All right, now I'm on track. So you would get 50% of that number, and then every year that you work past 20 years to the time you max out at 32 years, you receive an additional 2% per year. So say you work 25 years. That extra 5 years would gain you 10%. So instead of getting 50% of that number, you would receive 60% of that number. If you worked the full 32 years, then you would max out at 74% of whatever that number was. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. The plan changed in October of 2010. The maximum number of years for the pension went from 32 years and it dropped to 26 years, meaning that somebody still at 20 years, you would take that, your average, whatever your number was, and you still get 50% of that. But those people that were hired after October of 2010 only could max out at 26 years or 62% of that number. Okay, so we're working on two different pension plans, one for the old guys and one for the younger guys hired after October of 2010. So I want to make sure that everybody's clear on how we come up with a number when somebody retires, what the actuaries determine what their pension is going to be. It's based on the number of years, and it's based on the average of your 3 highest paid years. Okay, so everybody's clear on that.
So they max out, still the 2%.
Still 2% a year.
So-
That didn't change.
So they can't get any higher than the additional 6, which would be 12%.
Yeah. Which is, you add the 12% to the 50%, so it maxes out at 62%.
Right. So we're in 2024, there's nobody left on that pre-plan.
No, everybody's left. Everybody that's eligible for retirement is still. There's nobody that's been hired since the plan changed in 2010 that's eligible for retirement, full retirement, because we haven't reached 20 years yet. They won't be eligible for that until the year 2030. They won't have got their 20 years in. So we're just talking about full retirement benefits, okay? To muddy the water a little bit, our deputies, they vest it in 10 years. So once they're a merit deputy for 10 years, they are eligible for some benefit. It's just a much lower rate. So it might be 12% of whatever their number was, but full retirement is considered at 20 years. That's 50% of whatever your number is. Okay, now let's move to the drop program. So 6 years ago, the drop program, the sheriff came to the county council and presented a drop program. What drop is, deferred retirement option plan. When a deputy decides that they want to retire, they go to Nancy, they say, hey, I want to retire, I want to fill out the paperwork, but I'm interested in drop. So whenever a deputy fills out the paperwork for drop, as far as the pension plan is concerned and the actuaries, the day you sign the papers and the day that your paperwork becomes official, for purposes of the pension plan, you are considered retired. All right? The actuaries no longer look at you as an asset or you're still contributing money to the plan. They take you from on that day and they move you over to the liability category, because starting that day you are retired and you are drawing benefits. It's just like you walked away and said, I'm done with this. But what drop allows a person to do is, after that retirement date, is to work an additional a maximum of 3 more years. And when they do that, their benefits, the retirement benefits, instead of them getting paid, so they wouldn't be receiving that money, the pension money, but that money goes into escrow, goes into an account, and it sits there. All right. So they're working this additional 3 years, getting paid just like they were. They maintain their rank. Nothing changes as far as their job. But then at the end of that 3 years, they have to walk away. They can't extend it. If they want to, they can leave early. So if you sign up for the drop and you decide after 6 months, you know what, I just want to go on vacation for the rest of my life, then that's cool. You can leave early. You just can't extend it. The benefit for us of having drop is, when somebody retires, instead of us having to hire somebody that's brand new and train them, we get to retain that experience, that rank, what all their skills, all their training. We get to retain that for an additional 3 years. There's no secret that we're in a hiring crunch. We have open positions now. So it benefits us for not having to hire somebody new and start over with a new deputy. The articles that I sent you yesterday, some of you may have had time to read through those. I did get a couple of phone calls, and I appreciate the phone calls, clarifying some things. We've had drop for 6 years now. For the first 3 years of that 6 years, we only had a couple of people sign up for drop. For the additional 3-year period, we had a couple more people signed up. Right now, we don't have anybody that's signed up for drop on our department. In that 6 years, we've only had 4, and only one of those 4 made it to the full 3 years. The other 3 decided to leave early. So I think that the questions that the council had 6 years ago were afraid that this might cause people to retire early or retirement to retire when they can. It would be a big burden on the county because, bear in mind, when you sign up for drop and say you work that additional 3 years, that 36 months worth of pension plan, your retirement has been going into escrow. So when you finally leave, you get all that money in one lump sum. And they were afraid that, well, if somebody's got just picking a number out of thin air, $120,000 in escrow, then that's going to be a big hit on the plan. It's not, because it's already there. It's just exactly the same as if they would have walked away from the job. Nothing changes. It is truly revenue neutral for the county. It doesn't benefit the county financially. It doesn't hurt the county financially.
It costs us nothing for drop.
Costs you nothing. Costs nothing.
The interest is paid by the bank.
Yep. So we've had it for 6 years. Only 4 people have signed up for it. It's not been a mad rush. It's just an option for the deputies if they choose to use it. Remember, you can't sign up for drop if you don't have 20 years. And once you've hit your maximum, and for us right now it's still 32 years, you can't sign up for drop because you're not eligible.
Besides you two, how many are nearing 20 years?
We're way over 20 years. We're a fairly young department, but I don't know. Off the top of my head, I'd probably say that there are probably 7 or 8 maybe that have 20. So 20-25% of the department at most. Yeah. So I would like to,
Tony, I have a question, please.
yeah.
Based off our conversation, you said if a person enters the drop program for the 36 months,
Yeah.
that their salary is frozen at that time.
So no, their salary's not frozen. So say somebody goes in and they sign up for drop today.
Okay.
If the council gives the sheriff's office a pay raise for next year, they still get that pay raise. But what happens is, that pay raise isn't factored into their highest 3 paid years because they're retired on paper. They can't add any more benefit. They're locked in to wherever they were that day they signed that paper. So they still get pay raises. The county still pays their insurance and their benefits. Nothing changes as far as that. It's only for the purposes of the pension. They're considered retired the day they sign the papers and they become official. Yeah. So they would still receive pay raises for the next 3 years now. Exactly. Yeah.
I believe when we talked about this a couple of years ago, I think I just got on the council, there's a little apprehension, they didn't understand the program, but if that program wasn't in place and that deputy didn't sign up for the drop program, he would walk away. The person who would be taking his place would be some rookie off the street who has 0 experience, may or may not have been to the academy yet. So basically what it is we get experienced officers on the streets for 3 years longer than we would in place of a new officer who's learning on the job. I mean, if anyone's ever done a ride along, based off of who you're riding with, you can tell how much the experience affects how their decision making takes place, correct?
That's correct.
And you don't gotta look no further. We just had that fatality not long ago from that police chase from Henry County. That was a rookie officer. So public safety is impacted by experienced officers. If we have a program that doesn't cost us anything, that allows us to keep experienced officers on the streets, I for one think it's a great program, and I wish we had more officers taking advantage of it.
And it also hopefully will allow the experienced officer to train the amateurs.
Sure.
So
So our current drop program that we have in effect right now expires on June 30th, 2024. So what I'm asking the council to do, and Mr. Freeman has drawn this up, is to reinstate the drop for starting on July 1st, but just to remove that 3-year sunset clause. We've been through 2 of those 3-year periods already. We've seen how many people have signed up for it. We've seen that it truly is revenue neutral. We've tested the waters. All the T&E period time is done, and I would like to ask you to remove that sunset and just make it permanent part of our pension plan. Ben,
I was present when the discussion when those sunset provisions were instituted, and I thought they were appropriate because you really have to have some experience with the program to see how it's going to function in real life as opposed to just looking at it on paper. And I'm comfortable with removing the sunset provision as long as we understand that 5 years from now, a council could look at this program and say, we don't want to do that anymore, and they could repeal it. Do you agree with that?
I mean, they would have that right.
Yeah.
Now,
We're not establishing a permanent part of the retirement plan that can't be changed by a future council.
well, there's nothing in the plan that can't be changed. They're not.
Statutory requirements that you and I have discussed.
Yeah, you're right. There are, as far as statutory requirements, there are, right. But no, I agree with what you're saying.
Thank you.
So someone would have to take deliberate action to seek out the program to change it. Is that what you're saying?
A future council could.
We're not finding a future council.
Right.
We're instituting this because we want to see it done. If a future council, for whatever reason, says we don't want to do that anymore, they can change.
Yeah, we're just continuing it, but just removing the sunset clause.
So this,
And just for your information, this also has to be approved by the Sheriff's Office Merit Board, which they have no reason to not approve it, but,
this third amendment or whatever this has had the sunset provision. This is all garbage now. We're just doing this.
those are the notes that the sheriff had sent to me,
Okay.
upon which he asked me to draft the 4th Amendment. So you're not voting on those, that's just.
Yeah, I was just trying to understand. This was language that he may have given to you.
Yeah, it's the notes on how we got to the language that's in the amendment that you're voting on. I don't have a copy of the amendment that you're voting on. I'd like to see it before you vote on it, because the copy that I have, where it's titled at the front, 4th Amendment to Delaware County Police Retirement Plan, it doesn't have a signature page. On paragraph 3, where it starts with drop entry date. Do you have that?
Yeah, right here.
It only says once they've reached 20 years of service, but prior to reaching 26 years of service. Is that what you have?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that needs to be changed, because that only applies to people who were hired after October of 2010. So it needs to be changed to say, after 20 years of service, but prior to reaching 32 years of service if hired prior to October of 2010, or 26 years of service if hired after October of 2010. So we're leaving out everybody that was hired before October of 2010. So I think that needs to be added. And I didn't catch that in when you sent that to me, but I just did when I was rereading it.
Didn't that already apply, Sheriff, to the program that's in force?
Not as written, because as written, this says once you hit 26 years of service, you're not eligible. And that's not true for those who were hired before October of 2010. Like Chief Stanley right now. Chief Stanley is eligible for the drop. He was hired in September of 1999. So he's got 25 years of service, but, a year from now, he wouldn't be eligible.
I thought we were talking about two different programs.
Mm-mm. This is all the drop, it's just,
Drops one program, how it applies to people is two different ways. It depending on your hire end date.
So I've got 20, if you're hired before 2010, the 20 years, is enforced.
Yes.
And after 2010, it's the 26 years.
No, that's not correct. The
20 years is always enforced. It's when you are maxed out at 26 years or 32 years is the difference.
So Sheriff Skinner, the determination as to whether of your ceiling, your maximum
Right.
ceiling, 36 or 26, is based on your initial hire date?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So would it make sense then, rather than messing with the 26 year and 36 year provision in here, to just say upon reaching a maximum or a minimum of 20 years? Because this document has no impact on when they were hired. That's independent of this document.
That's partially true. So you have to have 20 years to be eligible for drop. You have to have 20 years of service. But once you max that out, you're not eligible anymore. So
So you have to enter the drop period before you reach your maximum,
Yes.
whether it's 26 or 36?
yes,
Okay.
no, 32.
I'm sorry, 32.
Yes, you have to. Now, if somebody has 31 years of service and they want to retire and they want to enter the drop program, they're still allowed to, but they're only allowed to enter the drop for 1 year, because once you hit that max, once you've maxed out, you're no longer to be. So instead of entering for a 3-year drop, you would only be entering drop for 1 year. So anybody below that maximum ceiling is eligible, but you're not allowed to continue in the program once you reach that and past it, if that makes sense. So the 20-year part is applicable to everybody, but your hire date determines what your maximum ceiling is once you've maxed out your pension.
So this expires at the end of June.
June 30th, yeah,
We're gonna have one more meeting before this.
we are.
We table it and fix it up.
And I'm perfectly fine with that, because we have a merit board meeting next week, and I'm gonna have them to go ahead and
You
approve
could
it.
get approval there and then
Yeah.
come back and get approval here.
So if that's your pleasure, I'm fine with that, to make sure that the language is right.
Okay, do we have a motion? We don't have a motion.
no, he was just giving us an
He was
update
just
on,
giving us a heads up. So motion to table set resolution?
you're making the motion, Dan?
Yes,
Okay.
second.
All right, motion by Dan, second by Matt. Roll call to table till June.
Ms. Blanket,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Mogul,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt,
Yes.
Mr. Cantz,
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
So aside from the semantics of changing the wording on that, are there any other questions about drop? Is everybody fairly clear on it? I mean, got a decent concept of it? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right.
I heard the chest hold.
Stop. All right, we're moving on to the second reading of the salary ordinance repeal and replace, which is ordinance 2024-008.
Mr. Hughes had an amendment he put in.
Yes, so we all received an email, but then we received a printed copy with some additional changes from Mr. Hughes on changing some language. Had an opportunity to take a look at that.
Can you explain that? Do you want to consider all those together, or do you want me to break them apart into?
I would be okay with considering them all together, but yeah.
Are we gonna talk about them before we make a motion?
Well, we probably need to make them,
Give an explanation and then I'll
Yeah.
make my motion. to
Okay.
amend.
sounds good.
The amendment to section three of the salary ordinance as written was not changed. And it needed to be changed because as written, it says that line items pertain to a specific employee. So line item 1,153.5000D-111 applies to Pam. It can't apply to anybody else. So if she leaves in 20 years when she retires, that has to be changed. We're not gonna do that anymore. We're going to have a line item, presumably maybe that doesn't have a letter in it, and it will pertain to the human resources director regardless of who it is. So the language in section 3 needed to be changed to show that, that line item pertains to is specific to a position, not specific to a person. Then in section 7, paragraph D, I added language to make sure that it was clear that this backfilling process does not apply if there is any change in the rate of compensation or the job title or the job description, or if there's any additional expenditure required to fund the position for the remainder of the budget year. This is purely where we're employing a new person who is taking that existing position at the existing rate of compensation for the rest of the year. And I made reference to, I think the original language said backfilling form, and the auditor pointed out that should be the employee personal information form. I would also, I added in their language to the effect that a copy of the section 7 should be attached to that form so that every office holder and department head going forward knows what the rules are when they fill out that form. Section E, the change is just to clarify the language of the form. Section G, I had discussion with the auditor about what information the council should receive on a monthly basis as far as backfills. And my concept is that we should have the information we receive now, which is what fund it's coming out of, what the line item is, what the job title is, and what the balance in that line item is for the new employee. Then I also said the council should review and receive the report. Matt asked the question, well, should the council not approve the report? My concern there is if we're requiring the council to approve the report, then we're adding sort of a final step when we've already hired somebody. And we're trying to get away from the council having to approve all of these backfills. So sort of a lesser action is for us to just acknowledge that we've received the report. So that was the purpose of that. So based upon that, and obviously subject to discussion, I would move that we amend ordinance 2024-008 as introduced with the changes that I presented in writing.
Second.
Motion by Bill, second by Eugene. Do we have any additional discussion? All right, hearing
I
none.
have one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Just in terms of backing this out, or if a council decided to do something else, or if there was an approval made for a backfill, and I don't know what the potential issues may be with that, but let's just say it was something had to be reversed. Is that just something we tackle at a traditional meeting? I can't really think of an instance of when that would happen, but I guess I was just thinking devil's advocate of if there's
We always have control over the budget and the appropriations. We could, at a subsequent meeting, we could zero out that line item. We could
eliminate it. Yeah.
transfer the money out or zero it out, and in effect, terminate that position. I think we always have that right.
Okay.
And any future council can amend the salary ordinance however they see fit. And the other thing, if we get in a crunch where, to Bill's point about zeroing something out, we can put a hiring freeze in place too, if we did, like we did during COVID era. So that is an option. I do want to make sure I asked Pam to be here today, because they already had an employee personal information form in place, and the auditor's office added the additional information that we were seeking, making sure that we had all the monies accounted for in the department heads and human resource director, the auditor's office. We're getting all those signatures, so everyone's agreeing on that final number. Pam, do you want to speak to that at all, or?
Yeah, and then I wanna go back to what we're talking about now.
Mhm.
Let me start there, because
Okay, that's fine.
I think I need to talk to me in damn talk, but you guys are kinda like Tony, I don't know what all he said. But, okay, so, say I leave, and I have 3 weeks vacation, you have to pay me out. So that's gonna be on the human resource line. So you're gonna pay me out, so that's gonna short that line for a new person coming in. And you've got that all figured out, how to fill that back in for the new, okay.
Yeah, and also too, I'm double checking, but yeah, there's a line on here that says the first date to backfill, so it would
Okay.
figure out that math to make sure that the department head, everyone acknowledges, like, you cannot hire a person until this date. To make sure that, like, you are paid out completely before the new person hires on.
Okay, so that's how you're gonna do that. You're going to have that line totally paid out. If I have 6 weeks,
Mhm.
you're gonna wait 6 weeks to put a person in that position.
Correct.
I think that is, I think that's tough, especially in some of these higher
Well, yeah,
positions.
people could still come before us. This is just for a basic backfill, like a
Okay,
apples
okay,
to apples. But in an extreme situation, then that department head would still come before us and ask for
Say,
that
hey, this is
appropriate,
very
that would be an
important that we have-
appropriation at
okay.
that point.
I think what
If
you're
they're
talking
asking
about,
for,
pardon?
I said, I think what you were talking about is you were under the impression that we're paying, I'd made that suggestion at last month's meeting to pay someone out instead of their time they build up. That way we could get someone in hired. Is that what the
Well, it
impression
doesn't
you were
matter
under?
whether you pay them out or you pay them when they leave. I don't know what you're saying, paying out.
And then, so
Okay,
when they leave,
but if
pay
I-
them out whatever time they had built up.
At that time.
Yep.
Okay, well, you still owe 6 weeks to the county. I mean, the county, if you pay me out 6 weeks, whether I get it the last day I'm here or over a 6-month period, or
My
6 week
suggestion would
period.
be if you, let's say you had 6 weeks of time built up.
Yeah.
The day you walk out that door, instead of you sitting at home collecting a check for 6 weeks, my suggestion was to pay you the 6 weeks the day you walk out that door. And to offset that dollar amount would be your insurance would stop on that day as
Right.
well.
Right.
So when you're sitting at home, you're collecting insurance for those 6 weeks.
Right.
And that's a cost to the county. So I suggested that we pay people out the moment they walk out.
Okay,
And
yeah,
then
I think that's-
the dollar
I think
amount
that's
will
good.
come from the insurance. That way we can hire someone that day. We don't have to wait 6 weeks for
Okay.
someone to come in. Because you're right, it's gonna be hard on you offices.
It's hard
these
when
small
you,
offices to work shorthanded for 6 weeks.
is that what not everybody's agreeing
We
with?
pay them out last check, but we still have to wait because we have 3
Yeah.
weeks of pay that we have.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you pay them out the last day or pay them out if they're
what's
sitting
going on
on
right now anyway. I
Pardon?
mean, we have, it's what's currently in process, Ryan, like, if someone leaves and they have all this vacation built up, we can't hire someone until they're paid out, but if there's an extreme situation when, like, we've had a lot of people unfortunately pass away before a tax sale or before something big where or like if we were to lose an
Right.
HR director, that's when a department head would have to come before us and ask for an appropriation, because now you're having to pay out
Yeah, I
more
understand.
than
I think
was in the line.
I think what Ryan's
I
saying is
understand that.
that
That's different what
he
I'm
thinks
saying.
that if you're cutting it off, you're saying that their last day of employment is today.
Mm-hmm,
Their weeks of service or weeks of vacation,
Vacation,
whatever they're
whatever.
owed, can be paid out today theoretically.
but we still
But the
have to wait.
insurance also ends today.
Right.
Okay. So there is
It's
no
not the way it
offset
is
cost.
now. That's not the way it is now.
Right now it is like, I
Because
always.
they
use these
have that
examples.
choice, they can get paid out on the last day, which usually people don't. They wait for their 3 or 4 weeks and draw their insurance.
Which means we can't fill
Right.
that position for those.
But you're trying to say that offset of that insurance cost
Everybody
could be the offset to the
To
price.
hire a new person to pay in that week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
It may not be a perfect balance.
I doubt it, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be an offset.
Okay, so I think we're kind of muddying the waters here, because what we're talking about is just strictly, not when people, this has nothing to do about when people get paid out.
Yeah, just gonna check on what she said, so, because I think that's what she was understanding when she
Right, but that's
spoke.
not something we control, is when someone gets paid out. So, but I just want to make sure everyone's clear that we're literally only talking about dropping the ABCD. And,
Which I think everybody will be happy with.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're all clear on that, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
And then back to the PI form.
Yes, now back to the form.
Okay, I agree with the PI form, and I want to thank Ed for working on this. I agree with this, and the numbers on the second page are so important.
Mhm.
But I do want to, while I get a chance to talk, I do want to, every department head, this starts with every department head when they hire someone. It starts with them and then comes to us. And it has to be completed. And I'm gonna say this at open enrollment, and I'm gonna say this when we do our insurance. And I'm talking social security number, it has to be completed for our girls to get it in the system. Because if not, they pull it over to the side and work on the next one that is completed. And then someone calls and says, well, why don't our people have IT yet? Well, because their form's not completed, and their form can't be completed until their paperwork's completed, so it's a process. So this has to be completed if they want.
The teamwork makes the dream
That's
work,
exactly
folks.
right, that's
We gotta
right.
make
yes.
sure we get this all filled
That's
out.
right.
Because
So-
we all, I think all agree that this will make everyone's lives in this audience a lot easier once it's in place, but it requires everyone's participation for it to
And
work.
and I know some of the judges, they worry about the social security numbers coming through. We're all under secured email through the county to county. Emails are all secured, so if they send me a full social security number, it's not gonna get breached. So, but if not, it just takes time for us to pick up the phone and go, hey, we need a complete number.
And what do you
That's all I'm gonna say.
What do you do with these forms then?
We file them and, well, we're working on a new system, aren't we, Ed? That this is all gonna be done. We're gonna fill it out in our office and it's gonna go to the auditor's office. And they're gonna know what kind of health insurance they have, whether it's, dependent, family, or what it is. So, but then this stays in our office. The hard copy stays in our office.
For how long?
Forever. I have them forever. But we've archived them all and put them on a file.
That's what the law requires.
That we have to keep those. I have people that's been here it's passed for forever, but I still have them in an archive. And that, at that time, Jim, they're not on a hard copy. We have scanned them into a file.
And then shredded.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Do we shred them or do we pay a company to take our shredded documents?
I still shred them in the office, but we do have a company that we work through Emily with that, we just don't, I don't know, I just like to see them go through the shredder.
Sure. I just wanna,
Just like, it just gives you pleasure, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, there's something about that, yeah.
I wanted to quickly mention just, thank who, the people who were working on this, because we've talked about this whole backfilling thing forever. As long as I've been on the council, we've talked about it. So, for those of you who put in the work to get this, the bugs worked out to where this new process is gonna work moving forward, I wanna personally thank you. And to everyone else, usually inevitably, there's always some hiccups and bumps along the way.
And there
when
will
you're
be,
going out
I'm
there.
sure there will be.
So, just be patient. I'm sure on paper, everything looks perfect right now, but I'm almost certain there'll be one or two things that'll pop up that we'll have to work around as we figure this thing out. But, I'm pretty sure everyone will be pleased with it moving
Yeah.
forward.
And we work real closely with the auditor's office anyway, so for us to be able to input and it goes to the auditor's office, that's gonna save a lot of time.
Where we have,
I'm just making sure everyone's got their questions answered, so it sounds like we have. Roll call, please.
I want to make sure we had it introduced as.
We had a motion by Bill and a second by Eugene,
As
so
amended,
we're good. Yep.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. I expected a woo or something, guys. Hold on.
That was the motion to amend the ordinance.
As
You now
amended.
need to adopt it as amended.
Oh, all right. Ryan as amended, Dan second. All right, now let's vote again. Roll call.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, it's done. It is done. All right, moving on to our second reading of ordinance 2024-09. This is an ordinance establishing a processing fee for mobile home transfers and moving permits prepared by the Delaware County Treasurer. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
That motion by you, Ryan,
Yes, ma'am.
and second by Matt.
What department are you? What department are you?
Treasurer's
What number?
Your fund.
Oh,
1,000.
127, yeah, I don't remember. Don't ask me, I don't know, I got my index, I'm not focused.
Gotta keep that in there.
No.
That's not very
Just to
good.
have one.
Yeah, I didn't have it prepared, that's me.
All right, so we've had a month to process this. Does anyone have any additional questions or comments for the treasurer?
Brad, did you happen to come back with some numbers from other counties?
I did. I looked online, as well as put it out for, individual, counties on our email thread. I got a response of about 20, to 25, counties. The going rate, there was one that was $10, there was one that was 25, and everybody else was in the $15 to $20 range. So that's why we stuck with 15. That was the majority of other counties was 15
How long has it
dollars.
Of course, you don't know, you didn't write it, so you don't know how long it's been at 15.
Yeah, I don't know. I know one of the counties, I found their ordinance. It was from like 5 years ago. So, yeah,
Theirs was 15.
15, yeah.
You know, I know, Ryan's going to comment, and, certainly appreciate that. When I was, several weeks ago, probably 6 or 8 weeks ago, I went to the, treasurer? No, recorder's, thank you, recorder's office. And, I was inquiring about, a legal description. And, they pulled it up, I needed 7, different legal descriptions that day. One for myself, one for a buying agent, one for the buyers, and one for the sellers. And they pulled them up, and, in advance, I told them that I needed a copy of each. But then once I got those, I'm like, well, I really need 3 more for a total of 4 copies. And they informed me that they were $1 a piece per copy. Now, taxpayers are paying for the machines, the laser printers, the paper. People are already there. Taxpayers are paying for all that. Nevertheless, rather than taking a $28 charge, I went ahead and just got 7 copies. And in my opinion, that's kind of what we're talking about here, is that there can be a charge, in my opinion, associated with what you folks are doing. Not to say, well, everybody else is doing it, therefore we should do it. I don't think that's the point, number one. Number two, whether we adopt or not adopt, and whatever the monetary amount is, it's really not going to amount into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Point is that there should be, in my opinion, a charge. Last month, I thought that charge, in essence, for 2024, I thought a $25 charge would be reasonable. I know that you've indicated that many others are charging 15, and for me, and I think maybe some other people as well, and maybe not, I'm not speaking for them, a $20 charge if somebody comes in and a $20 bill would be common. I just feel like that's applicable in today's world.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna argue with obviously raising that up. I mean, it is a fee, not a tax. It is a fee, a service fee for, individuals to come in, just like they would if they went to the BMV and did one on their vehicle. It's gonna be a cost on that. If you go buy a car at the dealership, you're gonna pay a title transfer fee, but you're also gonna pay a service charge for that. And a lot of times it's, $50 for them to go and process your title.
Right.
And so that's what this is not, it's a fixed charge.
it is a fee, it's a service fee, and, you know, that's up to the council if they wanna change, you know, make it 20, but we would be happy with 15. I think it would just slow down. Our main intention is just to slow down. Example, just 2 weeks ago, we had a park send a transfer for the 5th time this year. That's once a month,
In a month,
in a month.
in a month.
Oh, five
It
in a
was
month,
5
I'm
times in a
sorry,
month.
five and, yeah. That's not
They
even
wanted to
5
change
months, it's
the
1
name
month.
on the title, they wanted to change the amount on the title, then they spelled the name wrong when they sent it in 5 times in a month.
How many, roughly, like, how many of these transactions, like, what do you expect a $15 revenue or service
So-
fee to bring
So
in?
last year we had 412. Obviously, how many of those were, just like Kathy said, where they wanted to change the name? Oh, well, we forgot to put our LLC on there, so let's do it again. So I think it's gonna cut that number down. I was running some numbers during the meeting. I'm gonna guess between 250 and 300 would be a minimum that we would do. At $15, that's $3,750 to $4,500 of revenue generated for the office. So that we could use to purchase computers, equipment, that kind of stuff. That you know, obviously we're using that. I believe our copier is at least 7 or 8 years old, and so eventually it's going to need replaced. And we right now currently do not have that in our budget to do that. So
I'm kind of in agreement with Mr. Noble that, you know, $20 would be easier for you, and in today's world, to replace a copier, several thousand, and you spend a lot of time with copiers with these things.
I'd like to add a couple things here. So, I think it was last month when he was here, Mr. Polk, and we did the first reading on this, I had expressed some concerns, about the people who will be impacted by this, user fee. I know, our permit fee, I think it's a tax, but I understand your reference as a user fee. And the people who's gonna be impacted this are the most vulnerable people of our population, those who have scraped enough money together to buy a home. This is only for trailer homeowners, not renters, correct? Right?
yes, there's no homeowners.
They've scraped up enough money to buy a home, albeit it's a trailer home, but it's a home to them. And, you know, our population, Delaware County, I think we ranked, last time I checked, 89th out of 92 in average medium income. We're one of the poorest counties in the entire state of Indiana. I believe Muncie alone, 25% poverty rate. So when we're putting extra burden on people who are just trying to make it, get a home, that concerns me. Now, I don't have any of that sympathy that I just expressed. The sympathy that I just expressed for the average young person, young couple, young family trying to make it in life, that sympathy does not extend to corporations. I know you've expressed that a lot of these mobile home parks are owned by corporations, many of them from out of state. For me to get on board with this, I would like to see a modification to include, for example, I'm just like number 2 here, it says effective June 1st, the Delaware County Treasurer's Office will charge and collect a permit fee in the amount of $15 for each permit issued. For me, I would like to amend that and say for each permit issued for any LLC or incorporated company or any transfer after the original. Because what you had stated was this is multiple issues that's the problem, not someone coming in there one time, but someone coming in there 4 times, 5 times. Mobile home parks that are owned by companies in other states. My only interest is to protect the average person who lives here in Delaware County who is not part of the problem that you're describing. So I would be in favor, I would like to offer an amendment to this resolution. This ordinance, to include LLCs, and any incorporation, outside of just an average family buying a mobile home on their own.
Could I throw something in?
Please.
Mr. Wood, thank you. Obviously, if you had one individual come in last month and they wanted 5 different what are they? They're not licenses, right? Or are they?
Titles.
Title, thank you. Do you have the capacity to, for example, if we said, will not collect for the first one, so an application. So the first one, anybody can come in and the first one is free. Any additional in that same calendar year would be at an additional expense of whatever the amount is that we possibly would determine.
Yeah, I can support that.
So the problem with that is monitoring that and on a daily basis. I mean, you know, and once they figure out, the LLCs figure it out, they're probably gonna do something different to offset that, to where we have to monitor every single one that comes in. I don't have time for that. When it's tax season, we don't have time. But any time of the year, really. I mean, we work with 2 cashiers, a head cashier, and chief deputy out there.
It's kind of one size
But not
fits all.
only that, and I'm sorry, Kathy Butterfield, Delaware County Treasurer's Office, but not only that, IT does a file. We scan those in and those go into a file. That file goes to the assessor's office so they can update in our PVD system with who the owner is and all their data. That can go over each month. So if that file goes over, that file is moved out of our system and already into the assessor's office. So they'll have to find another way through IT for us to be able to monitor it for a full year.
So how do you guys?
And then not
keep track
only
of
that, the majority of the people who come in for a title transfer are the corporations. There are individuals who sell their mobile homes, but they're not people who continually come in, I'm selling, I need to change my name. They literally stand there. They're looking at the paper. My name is spelled correct. The address is correct. That amount is correct. We're done. Stamp it, seal it, you're out. We don't see them again because they live in that home. That's theirs. These corporations, they go through a sale. They'll get it all the way to the end, and then they'll say that sale fell. So we need to come get a new title transfer permit within 2 days because we've sold it to this person. Go all the way through. Oh, this failed. It failed. We're not selling it. We need another title transfer permit. Or they're notorious for, we forgot to put the LLC on. We spelled this wrong. We changed the price on it so we could sell it. I mean, it's just, that is the biggest
Kathy,
portion of
if you had
this.
to make a guess, 75% of transactions, 90% of transactions
For corporations,
that are doing.
I'd say at least 85, 90. I mean,
So,
individuals sell them, but not nowhere near like the mobile home parks.
right, and so I can appreciate what Ryan's trying to do. It's one, to me, technically unfeasible to try to differentiate, and two, there's so few transactions that are affected by that, you know, we're not solving anything by avoiding that.
That's not true, actually. And they did just differentiate it. You just sit there and heard her explain. They can tell the difference between a person coming in buying it for their own home and a company who's changing it. You just said it. You can tell the difference when they're in there. So
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
easily tell the difference between who's a family buying their home and who's a corporation doing the same thing over and over and over again. And what a lot of these corporations do, or these trailer parks do, they'll buy the trailer park and then they sell them to an individual. I know people who just purchased one. So they are fairly frequent. I mean, didn't you say last time, Brad, there's like 400 mobile homes?
Yeah, we had like we had 400, permits that we did last year. Of those 400, I would say we might have 30 individuals, maybe not even that many in a year's time selling an actual trailer. The rest are going to be your mobile home parks. The problem I think with what you're saying, Councilman Webb, is that I think that we could get into trouble for not charging this guy, but charging this guy because you're discriminating against corporations in that situation. And we could open ourselves up for a lawsuit, honestly.
Well, to what council member local had mentioned, how difficult would it be, like we said, to waive the initial one?
The problem is tracking that to where you come in, but then 9 months from now, your paperwork is already over at the assessor's office.
What is an initial one? A new trailer being done?
Yeah,
Or
if you sell me a mobile home and I buy it, I come in and register it, It just said they can.
But it's probably transferred 10 times before that, so how would you differentiate what an initial one is?
Each new buyer, as a new buyer, would have to pay their transfer fee. The only buyer can only be a buyer once unless you're doing it multiple times like they described.
Is that feasible for you guys to even know?
It would be very tough. I mean, I don't have the personnel to do that. You know, especially when this all came in, you know, during tax week, for instance, we had a park, send more than 30, permits during tax season, that week of tax collection, when people are paying their taxes and we have to pull somebody off of what they're doing, collecting taxes that run this county to do a mobile home permit. I can't then take a second person or just keep that person off the line, looking up, oh, well, did they have a mobile home? Oh, yep, they did back in January. You know, I don't have time for that. I mean, I don't see that would be such a problem. Like I said, it impacts, you're probably talking 30 people. It's part of closing costs. I mean, you can put that in. I mean, you go close on a house, you're going to spend $3,000 or $4,000. I mean, Councilman Mokel would know that, exactly what the numbers are. This is a $15 fee.
A lot of times in residential, the buyers are asking the sellers to pay their closing costs.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up too.
Because it could be the seller.
If I'm buying it off a corporation, they're gonna pay that fee.
Yeah.
And if you're buying it, you're only paying that fee one time. The LL or the corporations are going to be the one, and I'm sure they're going to try to put it on. But if it didn't sell, they're not getting their money out of that. So the corporation is paying that $15 each time, unless they can find a way to pass that fee on to the person who backed out of the sale. But if you are buying a mobile home today and you bring it in and you transfer it, you pay that $15 one time, and unless you sell it to someone else. And you don't even pay it if you sell it to someone else. Your person that buys it from you is going to come in and pay that $15. So it's a one-time fee of $15 for you to transfer that. Unless you'd come in and say, okay, 6 years later, I want to put it in my child's name in case something happens. Then you get another fee.
I guess I'm trying to understand, why are we doing transfers anyway if a sale hasn't went through?
Well, we've been fighting that for
It's part of the state code that we
how
have
it
to.
works.
You know, used to it was the BMV that did it. Now it falls on the treasurers.
And they have to have that title transfer to go to the BMV. And then the closers for the trailers have to have their title transfer permit. Everything has to be at closing for them to sign. And then it goes to the BMV. But if it doesn't go, if it comes to us to get the transfer, then they have their meeting to close and they back out of the sale. Well, we already have the transfer. We have no sale.
So then we get to start all over again. The whole process.
That's what we're trying to slow down.
I appreciate you guys making the effort to explain all that. Okay. There hasn't been a motion made on anything?
We have a motion by Ryan and a second by Matt, you,
Oh, for the actual,
for this, yeah,
Approval.
so,
we have a discussion about the $15 fee.
would you like to make an amendment?
I would like to amend it to 20.
I would second that.
So we have an amendment on the floor, motion by Dan, second by Jim. Roll call on the amendment of $15 to 20. Roll call, please.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
No.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
No.
Mr. Wyatt.
No.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes. All right, so now we've changed this to $20. And I'll take a motion as amended.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Matt. Roll call, please.
Ms. Flanagan.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
No.
Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Mr. Cantz.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have a review from the Code of Conduct Committee.
Yes. I handed out to all the council a copy of
code of conduct that I'd like to introduce, and after talking with Mr. Freeman, I guess present this as a first reading of the resolution.
Okay.
Is that really formatted like that? Is that how we're looking at it?
No, well, I think, in the event the council decides to adopt the code of conduct, I think we would probably do it as a resolution, but my understanding was he wanted to introduce this so that you could all review it, and if there wouldn't be any action taken on it today in case there were any questions, comments, and, I mean, if I
Review it, read over it, yeah, this is just, get it in your hands, and we'll put it on the agenda for next month.
Or does it, I mean, yeah, does anyone have any questions or comments or?
I do have a comment on, part of it. Actually, I have a question on some of it, a comment on other parts of it. So, first I'll ask the question. So on the compliance and enforcement, see on here a public letter of censure. Previous experiences, I thought it, could we clarify if councils can censure? Because I thought before that that's something they do on a national level, not necessarily on a local government level. Can someone clarify that?
Because we had nothing established?
if you're asking for my opinion, I think, you would adopt these, which would give the council the ability to censure, but I think the council previously could have, if they had so chosen, at any time, adopt a resolution stating their opinion on anything, which could be in effect, a censure on an individual as discussed in this document. So I don't know that this necessarily changes anything.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, having it in writing is what would allow it, and not having anything in writing is what prevented it before, correct?
No, I think this body is always free to adopt a resolution expressing, some resolutions actually impact some legal process or procedure. Some, we've passed resolutions before expressing a favorable opinion on some sort of economic development or against maybe potential state action by the legislature or something like that. I think similarly, a resolution by the council stating its positive or negative opinion on someone's conduct, either another council member or somebody that they've appointed to another body. I think this council always has that ability. This is then also just setting up a code of conduct and stating that one of the potential actions by the council for a breach of the code of conduct could be a censure. So I think it's maybe more readily defining something that was already in place.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. The other question I have is on number 3, conduct members shall refrain from rudeness, disrespectful comments, insults, name calling, abusive conduct, personal charges, or verbal attacks upon the character or motives of other members of council or other appointees, county personnel, or the public. That's a pretty broad range of interpretation. Disrespectful comments or rude or insults. Who interprets that?
We would as council interpret that. I mean, I assume everybody has their own compass of morals and trying to encase that.
Well, of course, those you're talking about basic morals. I totally understand that. But what I'm getting at is like nowadays, there's a lot of things that could be considered as rude or disrespectful. I'm a traditional conservative. I make it very well known. I don't believe that a man can become a woman or a woman can become a man. Some people might take that as being a rude comment or disrespectful. I don't think they are. That's the type of things that I'm referencing. And when we're talking about personal charges or obviously character, I totally get that. But when we're talking about should refrain from personal charges on the character or motives or other members of the council or appointees. What does that mean? Like other motives of a council and appointees.
I mean, you're wanting to know, like, if somebody recuses themselves from a discussion and why they would or wouldn't, or, I mean, abstains. I mean, that's where it gets into maybe there's a personal motive that needs to be refrained from getting into with other council members. Okay? But, I mean, take it home, digest it, and we can have lots more discussion.
I appreciate the explanation on that. I was just curious about what that meant.
Is this, sit on top of like Robert's Rules of Order kind of thing? I mean, do we even
This
have
would not
that?
sit on top of that. I mean, basically, when you read it, it's every individual sitting up here should maintain a good code of conduct when especially when they have a council member in front of their names.
Mhm.
And this is not gonna sit on top of that. It wouldn't sit on top of the rules that we've adopted. This just goes along with it on trying to be a good member of any board that we're either part of or that we appoint people to.
Okay, any further questions? All right, so sit on it, digest it if you have questions. The committee, Eugene heads it up, and then Bill and Dan are the other members that can help answer any of those questions. All right, up next, board appointments. We do have two coming up. I wanted to make sure we got this in front of everyone's attention before those terms end, but we have two members for the Civic Center Authority Board, which is the board that disperses the food and beverage tax with the convention center. We have two Republicans to appoint on that, so I will get a communication out for applicants to apply.
Yo, I'm sorry, President Piper, could you repeat that? Are both of those Civic Center Authority boards?
They are both Civic Center Authority boards, yep, because they would start their term in August.
And they both have to be Republicans?
Correct. And historically speaking, one of those, we've typically had someone from the council or the auditor's office on that board, but that's not required.
And that's currently you, right?
I am yes.
And when do you make the appointment?
It's 2 years.
It's a I think it's a
2-year term, August 1st.
Yeah.
But when do we make the appointment?
We'll probably want to make that, because if we get it done next month, that would be helpful, because that way the folks can go ahead and get sworn in, because one of the first meetings on the Civic Center Authority Board is determining their budget. They don't run on a fiscal year. So
The June meeting. So anyone who wants to apply for that needs to submit it before our June meeting.
yeah, yep. So I'll get a communication over to Kyle. But right now it's myself and Marianne Cradaville, who serves as our treasurer, and she would like to be reappointed. She served as our treasurer for many years, so she's on all the bank accounts and all that kind of stuff. So,
Are you also going to seek reappointment?
I mean, I would like to, but if there's interest, that's the pleasure of the council. I serve as, so I don't see it, but I was reached out to by Billy Shepherd saying that she would like to be reappointed, and that
That's 6/1/2024.
when that one's done.
I don't know if this is the most current.
Okay. So then, yeah, we'll have the Muncie Library as well.
One and one.
How's that
I think
going to work? If it if the term is supposed to start on June 1st.
Generally speaking, under Indiana law, they continue to serve until they're replaced.
Okay.
They don't have to, obviously, anybody can resign at any time, but those who were previously appointed continue on until they're reappointed or replaced by somebody else.
So we could do that at the June meeting as well, the library board, what do you think?
Yeah, it's Muncie Library Board, and, we currently have a Democrat appointment, which is Billy Shepherd, who would like to seek, reappointment to that board. I don't, so we do have another one too, Renee Wagner. So it looks like we have one Republican too.
So the library board has to be politically balanced, correct?
Same thing, when we do our Yorktown Library Board as well,
So there's two library board ones.
according to what Matt has pulled up.
Well, hang on, yeah, I see a different name, so I'm not sure which one's which here. Billy's the one, but then there's a different one, Royce Mitchell. So I don't know which one's current, they're both, I don't know where
Okay,
this came from.
I do know that Billy
I
would
think
like
it's
to
Renee
stay.
Wagner, because that's what's marked 2024,
Okay,
but we need to double check that.
alright, so I'll get, something over to Kyle so we can get that posted on social and people can apply. We'll do that vote in June. Moving on to old business, salary study update, the finance committee went over, to meet with the folks and, Kent Irwin gave us a rundown of where they are with the salary study. They were able to provide us with some numbers and such, but they would like to come present to us in a special meeting. And so we can all ask them any questions that we may have, and it'd be solely dedicated to, that particular topic. So after the meeting, please stick around so we can look at calendars and try to figure out when we could get this special meeting together to discuss, for them to give us like their final review and update. Any elected officials or department heads?
Megan Gatito, Delaware County MS. I just wanted to thank the people that came through our open house on Saturday that we had out at Station 4. We had a little over 100 and some people come in and out throughout the day. So I just wanted to give thanks to everybody who came out and showed their support for us.
That was a great event.
It was.
Bummed I missed it, but I was really excited to see you guys hosting something like that.
Yeah, we planned it with EMS week and everything just came out. We wanted to do something with Station 4 a while ago, but we finalized our PR committee that we got up and going, which is really awesome. So you're going to see more public relation events from us out there, just showing we just really appreciate the support.
Awesome. Thank you.
Eric Cummings from 911. Reference to salary study, as you know, budgets are due by June 30th. Is that report gonna come out so that we can do our budgets appropriately based on what the salary study says?
I'm gonna get to when we got to council comments, but, the finance committee, we talked, and what we would like to see is if your budget falls into county general to hold off on any salary increases there, and we're going to put a large sum in our county council budget to be appropriated out for those salary increases.
Okay, so,
Well, if you have a fund outside of county general that doesn't impact the max levy,
I guess my question is, not knowing what the results of the salary study are, because we only have that window, right? So, I guess from my perspective, it would make more sense for departments to put in raises into their budget, because they can always be cut. You can't add is the
right,
issue.
which is what we're saying, we put it in R, so it can be shared in county general. We've done that in the past.
I understand that, but I'm still of the opinion that you have to look at departments differently as well and not do like across the board stuff.
Won't be.
So from my perspective, it makes more sense if department heads put the raises in their budget.
We're trying to, at least from a finance committee standpoint, we're taking a look at this study. It's very detailed. It's detailed from job categories, job descriptions. Things are going to be changed. Some of those things will be changing automatically. And then there's leveling that needs to be looked at. And then there's potentially increases. So all of that, I think, our initial discussion has been, we will take the bucket and allocate it based on that form, that what's been presented to us and how we're gonna deal with it versus trying to offset, okay, well, Fred put this in, then we gotta cross-set what that shows against the study. It's gonna be too complicated. So we're gonna do it, I think, pushing to do it this way. Because it'll give us the authority to look at that study, proactively determine where we think we can make moves, and then we'll be responsible for putting that money in.
There won't be
Moving it
anything
into
across
the
the board.
allocated department at that time.
I think the only way for a department head to allocate for a raise is to actually put it in their budget. I think
Will be.
I think it becomes more convoluted when you put all the money in one pool
Right, but
and then have to come and argue for money out of that pool.
You're
you're not gonna be arguing, we'll be determining it based on the salary study.
Me personally, I've always kind of, during the budget time, I've always held it against a department head, but if they didn't ask for what they wanted, if they wanted something, I would say, well, then why didn't you ask for that in your budget? So, I mean, you're the department head, turn in your budget, and it'll be up to us to either say yes or no.
I guess what I was looking for was guidance, because the other thing is, and I'm hoping Ed puts this out, because people are actively working on their budgets currently. You know, the letter code thing changed today, and I'm very grateful for that. I didn't do your woo-hoo, but all of the salary lines, and my understanding in talking with Ed, when we do our budgets this year, all the salary lines will actually end with X. Is that correct?
It's not been determined yet.
Okay, well, again, that's something that we need to know really quick, because some of these budgets take a long time, and so we need to make sure everybody's on the same page moving forward. I know, I mean, we're at the end of May, we have a month to present, or to do our budgets, because there is a timeline, so I think that needs to come out as well, so that everybody's on the same page with that.
Right.
Go ahead, Matt, I mean,
We've done this in the past, prior to you coming on, onto the county, where we put that money in the county council budget, and then it got allocated to whatever department it needed to in that general fund. So,
just a complete, so even since I've been here, it's a complete reversal from the way that we've done budgets, right?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, there is when we just find out at the end of May, okay? This is not something that
You have your salary lines.
I do.
Right, so you just don't make any moves to the salary lines currently. And then you're gonna be working through the remainder of your budget. If we add to it, we're able to add to it, then we will. Like, that's really as basic as it gets. You know?
right,
I stated
and with the
something.
way the salary study is, like Matt was saying, and I mentioned last month, there was like a rubric that they went through all these different things, and they figured out, they weighted every type of job, and then they are giving us what that salary should look like, and that's what we'll be working off of. So it's not going to be, it levels is what it ends up doing, and it'll help us
I mean,
to,
to Ryan's point, you can put it in there, but if we pull it out, it's just more work to do that.
My personal opinion is I think you should submit your budget that you want, and then it's up our jobs to make it what it needs to be. But then your hands are free and clear. You've done what you're supposed to do. That's my opinion. I'm just one person.
Sheriff?
In your, salary ordinance, section 9 for the part-timers, we have subsection F for part-time correctional officers and subsection J for part-time, federal inmate transport, personnel. As far as the sheriff's office is concerned, we also have door security bailiffs that work the metal detectors at all three buildings, as well as part-time people that serve court papers, the civil process. So at some point in the near future, I'm gonna work with Nancy and see if we can get some language down and send it to Mr. Freeman to get those two positions included, because they're not included in here. I just want to bring that to your attention, that we have two part-time jobs.
Can you say what section and letter that was again? I'm sorry.
Page 5, isn't it?
Yeah, page 5.
Yeah, page 5. Well, it actually starts on the bottom of page 3, the part-time job classification levels,
Okay,
and goes all the way through page 5. So most of 4 and 5 are just part-time,
Those categories be changing then?
but they don't include the metal detector, the door security guys, and there's nothing in there that references the civil service, court paper, the guys that do that service. So we'd like to include them in there, and I just want to bring that to your attention.
Under J.
J's separate. J is, the guys that, for federal, inmate transports.
I'm sorry, Sheriff, say it one more time. What was one of the
So
titles?
we have, the only two that are included in that are F and J that relate to the sheriff's office. The two that are not in there are door security bailiffs and civil service, process servers.
Did those get put in, were those submitted to the consulting group? Erwin, with
Well, they're
That they were
part-timers,
missing out of-
they're part-timers, so probably not.
part-timers, okay, that's right.
I'm just talking
Okay.
about part-time.
Gotcha.
Sheriff, you're saying these positions that you just referenced wouldn't otherwise fall under subsection F as part-time correctional officers?
No, they're not correctional officers. Correctional officers work in the jail specifically.
Okay, and they wouldn't otherwise fall under, the other more general part-time levels?
No, because both of these positions are, no, they don't. One of these positions is armed, first of all, and another one, is out in a car working in the elements, dealing with the public. So no, they don't, there's nothing else that they fall under.
Okay, I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure that
sure.
they couldn't be put in one of the other ones anyway.
It's a legitimate question. So just bring that to your attention. And speaking of the federal inmates, we're now up to 45 in our jail. So, yeah, it's going well. Thank you.
thank you.
I have one other thing. I have one other clarification question. It's not just the salary lines that are impacted when we do our budget. We have to look at holiday, we have to look at overtime, we have to look at perf, so without putting those numbers in our budget, and to Matt's point, I get it, you may have to cut it, but if we don't put those salary increases in, then we don't have the right calculations for a lot of other lines. So, from my standpoint, I think it makes more sense for us to put in for the raises that we want and work from there, because there's so many other lines that snowball off of that. I don't know that that will all be captured in whatever pot of money you're going to put aside. So that's my other big concern, is it's not just the salary line. And if you're not putting all that extra money aside to cover all the other incidentals that go along with that, then we're gonna be really short in the end. So I think from my standpoint, it makes more sense to at least put in what we want for a raise for our staff, and then we work from there. Because I don't think you can account for all the other ancillary costs that are in the budget just by doing a pool of money, because when you start trying to break that out, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So, my recommendation would be, if you do that, like you said, that all the other expense lines should, so I guess it would be my recommendation that if you can cut expenses one place to add salary increases in another, and come to the table with that justification, I think that's, totally within your prerogative to do that, and to Brian's point. I just think that this year we should be spending as much time just on not just on the salaries, but on all of our other expense lines that we're looking at too. And if you can help save us money, to get money for your employees, great. That's what we should be task number one in the budget. And then we will see what else, once we know max levy and other things. We don't know what we're getting this year, if anything. And if it's gonna be.
I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying. The problem is, a lot of departments, I'll speak for mine, I'm not speaking for anybody else. We have contractual stuff that goes up every year, so just like in this budget that we're currently in, it was obviously cut from the request, but you get to a point, and I said this at budget time last year, you get to a point where you can't cut your budget anymore to try to offset raises or personnel expenses, because
you've cut it pretty much as you can. In fact, you have to raise stuff contractually. So regardless of raises or any ancillary costs with personnel, budgets for some departments are they have to go up. There's no choice. So it's not a matter of trying to find money to fund a raise or something like that. That's the dilemma that some departments have with contractual stuff and everything else, Matt. It's not like
I'm not gonna argue that point, because I mean, that may be true, absolutely could be true. But there's, the alternate is also true. So it's, every business runs the exact same way. Whether it's county government or otherwise, you have give and take, and sometimes it's,
I would be more than happy to sit down with you at any time and try to come up with areas to cut my budget.
we're not speaking about that specifically right now, I'm just saying generally.
So,
Two questions. Where are we at on the judicial lit tax that we discussed earlier this year? The judges have wanted to know what we're doing with that because that's gonna affect our budget. I know that you guys said you were looking into it, but I've not heard anything since. And then secondly, when you talk about this pot of money being in county general, what about our budgets outside of county general? How are we supposed to know what we're supposed to put in for that?
That's what I was saying, you would still budget whatever money you have available, right? You have different funds and like.
We
different-
do.
Yeah.
And so if we were to put in a certain amount of raise that we think we want to put in for, just do that accordingly. That's where we're
because.
struggling.
Right, that's where that's why I was saying just for county general, because then theirs, they would have to go in.
Like we have some grants, we have some funds that are non-reverting. So we have highway that's,
Right, so.
so it's different fundings outside of county general that's not gonna be affected by that pot of money.
Yeah, we haven't heard what the, growth quotient's been, right? I haven't heard. I haven't seen anything.
I think Bill, you said something, but no.
We're concerned it may go down.
The salary study contains a leveling of every job category. Would you increase a title, the same title in county general? Would you increase it in a fund if it was the same job?
Yes.
You could.
Yeah, I mean, there are some jobs that do cross over, like I have some, similar jobs in county general that I would have in a grant.
So until you.
But I don't know what that job study says, so I can't even
Until we can
estimate.
go through all that, they're supposed to present all that
Right.
and give us, it's the categorization in the study that is gonna maybe dictate a lot of this. We only saw it for a few minutes.
Right.
So like, they're supposed to come and report on that so we can have a better understanding of what's that look like and if there's anything that can or can't be done, and then.
and it'll be a public document at that point.
Yeah.
Well, but the problem is that we're all working on our, like what Fred said, we're all working on our budgets and it's due June 31st, so we're all under the gun here.
Yep.
So I mean, so we just put in what we feel and then we can always get it cut. That's where we're at. I mean, that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we have to do. Do we know where we're at on the judicial lit? Are we, I mean, cause
I
that
thought
does
it even
affect
changed.
the court budget tremendously.
Heard that at the AIC that it was only for like 3 positions
It's
now.
for court reporter, assistant court reporter, and court admin. But I mean, most of my staff is court reporters, assistant court reporters, and myself. So that's 30, almost 30 employees that could be put into that tax.
I'll go ahead and let you know my position. I will never, ever, ever vote for
I
a
know.
good tax increase.
I know you won't.
So that's.
You're
me.
one person though.
I am one person, and I'm gonna be very vocal about it. I'm a vocal.
But I'm
one
going to
person.
tell you that would put a lot of, that would take some pressure off of the county general.
Well, that's what we get paid
Yes.
to do, is to figure it out without
So-
raising taxes. We've got enough money in that budget somewhere that we can get the job done without raising taxes. Shoot, Brad's bringing in all kinds of revenue on interest, Tony's bringing in revenue on federal inmates. We don't need to put the burden on the citizens for another tax. We can get it done.
That's your opinion.
I don't think we really discussed it.
No, we haven't had not outside of. So, we'll get back.
Is there a deadline for that?
Did you want to say something?
Rack my brain and searching for that. Because I can't remember it, but, it's
Yes, right?
That was our fear, is that you would not get it in time and then we'd be out without that tax ability, so.
I can't speak to any of the recent statutory changes, but when we had the call with, local government and finance last year, the deadlines for that specific lit tax, at least last year, were later than the other ones.
Goes back like October, at least October.
Yeah, it was substantially later than the general lit tax because it's, the way that they account for it is different than the normal lit. But I
We
don't
would
know, I don't know
appreciate-
if that's changed.
Yeah, we'll find out the
I
deadline. and
appreciate you
such.
looking into
Yeah.
it and letting us know for
Yep.
sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I just have a quick question.
Okay.
Example, I go in with my budget, I do a 4%, we can fund that. The job study comes back and it says, really, your employees should be given a 10% to bring them up to scale. So is that gonna be addressed then after the first of the year to bring those employees up to scale? Because I only put 4% in my budget.
Ooh, let's caution things here.
No, I'm just using it as an example.
I mean, there have been times where we couldn't do something in
Right.
budget season and we've said, okay, come back in January. So that could be an instance. And I mean, we may not be able to get everything leveled this time around either, you know, so,
I can tell you though,
We were-
most
I mean-
employees, it's gonna be more than what you're making, I can almost guarantee it.
Right,
Because everybody's underpaid.
right, absolutely.
surprisingly,
It's not-
surprisingly,
I'm just
there are
like
some people
outside
who are
accounting
overpaid
general, so
currently.
I've got some questions and I wanna honestly make it as least hard on myself as anyone else.
Mhm.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Yes, if with that,
Uh,
resistance is to put them, increase it in whatever, but the money probably still should be allocated by us,
yeah,
so.
So try to get a memo out to the department heads, elected officials, and give them this guidance, our opinion of the guidance,
yeah,
so they can have that and work off that. If they wanna do something different, they can.
yeah, okay. All right, we'll get an email sent out to you. Do we have anyone sign up for public comment? I don't think we have any public in here. Any comments from council?
Yes, that guidance is needed, because if everybody puts in for something, then that's gonna say, what do we put in? I mean,
But to your point, if we're gonna look at this as everything's a zero as we start, and we haven't heard what the growth quotient is, which was what, 4% last year. And we had everyone put 4% in. We can still put that money, I mean, we can put that bucket of money in our line too if we need to. But, you wanna say 4%?
anybody else have any thoughts?
You kind of see the study, what is that?
It's kind of all over the place. There are some places where people are, according to the rubric, paid more than, it's not like everybody, but there are places where that is the case, and then there's some places that you see a bigger jump than others.
What about this? Is it possible that we just proceed as we normally would, and this study, I imagine it's gonna take a minute to get our heads around it, is something that maybe it doesn't impact this year's budget, maybe that study is something moving forward.
And maybe that's what
That
we'll
is
have to
true.
do.
Maybe we ought to.
We had that conversation, actually, was we make no moves this year and we deal with it in 2025.
I think to me, the safety net is they need to put something in their budget. I don't care if it's 4%, 6%, whatever percent. And as always, at the discretion of the council.
We can make it
then
whatever. Yeah.
Then we allocate the funds, but if they don't put any funds in there, then they don't get anything, right?
Well, we were gonna put money in ours that would be able to be dispersed, but yeah.
I like the idea of accountability being on their lap, so if they come asking for money later, you can always say, you didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
And then if not, then it's on the council.
Yeah, the only challenge with that, I guess, is, and the thought behind putting it into a bucket was that there's gonna be some departments that may move and change, and there's gonna be others that are gonna lose. So, you know, there's a lot of working out to be done potentially, so the thought was put it in a bucket and we will allocate it based on the leveling, if we decide to do anything in that front, or if there's any increases, then we look at it that way, because, I mean, just leveling is gonna be, you know, there's money gonna be needed for that, so everyone put for 4%, but we're gonna end up going over every line item and having to
I'll put the
deduct
bucket in
and
ours.
put it back in and do all of that, so it actually puts more burden on us later for them to do it that way.
I think it's always a misunderstanding. Maybe it's just me, but in last year, for some reason, I just had this feeling that you were, as department heads, told to put 4% in your budget. Then the word got out to the employees as they're getting a 4% raise. Then there's all this disappointment they're not getting a 4% raise, and I think that has to be communicated. That just because the council has requested, or you have requested as department heads, that you are going to be asking for a certain allocation, there's no guarantee, especially the way it sounds now, that there may be that percentage, but there might be less, so. This is the budget, this is where the department heads come before the council, and with your request, the employees, and should just take note that, we have a responsibility here, and that, we'll do the best we can. That's all.
You know, something people don't realize is that we're given the money we have to work with. We don't get to go ask for it.
And we don't know that number yet.
No.
I mean, if I was a department head putting budget together to submit, I would put in there what I would like to see for raises. That would be
Okay,
what I would do.
all right, and then
Exactly what I
just
did.
no, we'll go ahead and put money in ours, and we'll be able to do whatever we can do. But the idea is to try to start leveling these off.
We'll need some general idea what 4% over time, what that number might look like, right? Or, so we know what we need to put in.
Figure that
We'll just
out.
do it our own.
Yeah, well, all right,
But I think that, we didn't get, I guess we kind of started to go
Sorry about that.
comments, but then we kind of got off track a little bit. I was just gonna say, you know, congratulations to all the kids who've graduated and school's out, and you know, everybody enjoy their summer and have fun, and it goes by quick. So, congratulations on another year.
And I'd like to say thank you to the people who did the salary. What a nightmare.
well, and thank you department heads for helping and participating in that, because I know they had to get that information from you to be able to do that, so. All right, well, council, don't forget to stick around so we can pick a date for that special meeting, and then otherwise, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Next meeting,
Next meeting is Tuesday, June 25th at 9 a.m.
So moved.
second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Dan, roll call please.
Flanagan.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Mokel.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Ant.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes. All right, we will see you on Tuesday, June 25th at 9 a.m. Have a good week.